Hello, everyone, and thanks for attending this breakout session. We are Answer Modules, an OpenText technology partner focused on delivering smart solutions to enhance Content Suite and Extended ECM. I'm Paulo, Sales and Alliances Managers, and with me is Patrick Vitali, our CEO and R&D Director. So today we'd like to show you how our flagship product, the Module Suite, can be utilized to replace OScript and WebReports developments. So to get things started, let's first focus on the business needs that, in essence, underline today's session. So I would guess that it's safe to say that all organizations are looking for a way to do more with Content Suite, but obviously with less effort. So in other words, being able to easily personalize the platform, quickly roll out tailored, very robust business solutions, all with a reduced cost. However, it's rare that these needs can be met or addressed efficiently with the quote-unquote traditional development tools. So this is where we come into play. This is where our product, Module Suite, comes into the picture. So to give you a very high-level definition of the Module Suite, it's a fully integrated add-on solution that provides the tools and essentially a very smart way of creating tailored business solutions on top of Content Suite and Extended ECM. We utilize the term smartest way, as Module Suite really is a game changer when it comes to creating solutions, creating applications, creating personalizations on Content Suite. And I'd say that there are three key aspects that set the Module Suite apart in respects to OScript or WebReports. So first and foremost, it does not employ a proprietary language. This means that the Module Suite is very easy to learn, and it's also very easy to find technical resources that can easily learn the Module Suite and become very productive with it in a very short time. So in fact, to give you some figures, on average, we've seen that it takes about 5 days to become productive with our solution. This can be broken down into 2 days of training, of formal training, and 3 days of hands-on exercises. The vast majority of technical users are able to become fully productive with our solution. Second, it fully embraces the concept of low coding. So this means that development is faster and that you're never starting from scratch. So in fact, during customer survey that we conducted, what our customers and the general community told us is that with Module Suite, they were actually able to reduce development efforts by up to 80% in respects, obviously, to the traditional way of doing developments on top of Content Suite and Extended ECM. And last but not least, it allows organizations to adopt a truly agile development methodology. So this means that the requirements or change requests coming from the line of business can be implemented on the fly, even literally sitting right next to the business users. So this translates to a zero lead time from concept to development, but it also ensures that the results are 100% aligned to the line of business's actual expectations. So due to its capabilities, flexibility, ease of use, etc., the Module Suite has in fact become the de facto tool for creating solutions in a little over 100 organizations worldwide as of today in various different industries as well. So as you probably understood so far, the Module Suite can drastically reduce the development efforts of on Content Suite. I mentioned earlier that the average effort can be reduced by up to 80%. However, there are some instances where we can even go above and beyond that figure. So for example, creating a custom menu item in the Smart UI will take probably around 1 to 5 days, and you need to learn the SDK. So pretty long development time for a pretty simple enhancement, and you have to learn the SDK. With Module Suite, we can actually implement a custom menu item in literally 5 minutes. And as I mentioned before, this can be done sitting right next to the line of business. So understanding what they need, what they want, and showing them the results, verifying it. And this custom menu item, this development, is already available without any system restarts as well. So obviously a big reduction, a drastic reduction in the effort and the time it takes to do just, something simple like a custom menu item in the Smart UI. So as you can see, Module Suite is truly the tool that allows you to do more with less effort and deliver better results at the end of the day. So with that, I'd like to hand things off to Patrick for the live demonstration.
Thank you very much, Paulo. So yeah, this topic is very interesting because in another session we are discussing how Module Suite is basically a framework cloud ready. So meaning that it can be safely utilized in cloud environments, and so much that has been certified to be utilized even in OpenText cloud environments. And the reason why it's safely utilizable in cloud environments is also because it doesn't require you to deploy anything on the server. So the footprint of Module Suite is actually pretty reduced. So regarding the way you can avoid writing OScript or writing web reports for most of the cases, and working with a more easy to be utilized solution, which is Module Suite. I think the best way to approach this topic is going through a set of examples in which typically some OScript development or some web reports development is required, and see how this can be approached with the usage of Module Suite. So I would like to start from, let me say, some hardcore functionality that are difficult to be substituted with anything else but OScript development. So let's start from, for example, callbacks. So creating solutions that or creating functionalities that can react to events that are registered on content server, such as someone uploading a document or someone creating a new content somewhere, and leveraging some sort of APIs to perform some other action. So this is something that you can achieve writing OScript. Definitely, you can implement the so-called node callbacks. There are several node callbacks that you can implement, so that corresponds to events that are registered by the system. So whenever a document is added, whenever a metadata is modified, whenever a document is renamed, for example, and you can also intercept them with WebReports trigger. So there is a way of doing it with, let me say, standard development tools. And but for OScript, as far as OScript is concerned, it requires you to write some OScript, to deploy it, to test it, etc., etc. It's quite difficult to be implemented. And as far as WebReport is concerned, on the other hand, you can intercept, but you are inherently limited by the set of APIs that Content Server offers you. Well, as you might know, what Module Suite does is to dramatically increase the number of APIs that are available to developers. So ContentScript itself, which is the scripting solution, the core, I'm saying, of Module Suite, offers you more than 5,000 APIs, and you can utilize them in various scenarios. So let me show you an example of where these APIs and the how you can intercept an event on content server and react to it. So I have here under my developer recipes a very simple example in which we are basically intercepting the event of view dropping into a folder, a BPMN 2.0 definition of a workflow. So here I have my example diagram, and we can have a look at it. So I can download this is an XML file containing a BPMN 2.0 definition of a workflow. And what I can do is to open this online BPMN editor, load the file, and have a look at it. As you see, we have 2 swim lanes defined, 4 steps defined, a gateway step defined here, and so pretty much standard definition of a workflow. So what we did was to utilize the quite unique capabilities of Module Suite to define a script that will react whenever a document is added to this container. And this is also an interesting approach. So normally what you do is you listen for events such as document is created. What Module Suite allows you to do is to listen to events such a document is added to a specific container. So it is somehow as you are listening on the container instead of on the document. And the way you configure this kind of triggers in Module Suite is typically by convention. So when you install Module Suite, the system creates for you this ContentScript volume, which is a dedicated volume, and provides you the tools to populate it with an initial set of folder. Each one of them represents or drive a specific functionality of Module Suite. The 2 that we are interested in right now are the events folder. So Module Suite offers you CS events and CS sync events. So this means that you can react to events that are registered by content server or extended ECM in 2 ways. So either synchronously, so you are basically the code you define is executed immediately with the event, or asynchronously. So you just register that something happened, and later on you will execute something. So why the 2 differences? Well, because sometimes you might need to perform some heavy computation and you do not want to interfere with the end user experience. So you can still let the action be completed and later on to perform zero check or to perform this heavy computation. But it's still important to have the possibility to be synchronous, so to basically intercept synchronously the event, because obviously ContentScript also offers you the possibility to prevent the user from completing this action. So you can, for example, utilize this feature to prevent the user from uploading executables on your system or documents that are too large into a specific folder, or for example PDF into a specific folder. So what we're looking for is this folder right here, and so this identifies space into my repository, and which is basically this space here, and here represents the event we want to listen to. And the event that is relevant for us is, in this case, Node version. Okay, so we just created a script inside of this folder, and that is enough to tell the system that whenever a document or any sort of content in this folder, in this space, and on all the spaces that are under this space receive a new version, this script should be executed. And what the script does, it's pretty fantastic. So it basically it processes the XML, that is the BPMN definition, and leveraging our process builder API, it programmatically creates a corresponding content server workflow. So what basically this script does is to translate this BPMN20 definition into the corresponding content server workflow. So you reload the page, and here I have the original document that uploaded it and the new content server workflow definition corresponding to my BPMN20 definition. As you can see, this is a very unique capabilities that it's made possible by the fact that we have so many different APIs available. Let me show you another example in which callbacks can come in handy. So we have, for example, this very simple automated document numbering. So I have this very simple application in which we have a set of documents stored in this folder, and I can upload into this folder new documents, and whenever a new document is added to this folder, the system automatically intercepts events, and on the basis of which kind of document you are working with, so either an Office document or a PDF, information are immediately extracted from the native format. So in this case, we are reading metadata associated with the document, so the title, the author, and custom property that are defined inside the document. The document is renamed accordingly to its naming convention that we have decided, and the information that we have extracted is automatically associated to some categories. So control document here is the original document title and other operation and other information that were stored directly into the document or that were stored as custom property of the document. So that is quite an example. The other typical situation in which you might want to or you need to work with OScript development is when you are dealing with workflows. So in the meaning that in order to implement complex thing in a workflow, you might typically need to create the so-called event scripts. So if you go, for example, into a workflow such as this one, approval process, you'll see that Content Server offers you the possibility to associate to different events, such as whenever the workflow is started, whenever it's completed, whenever it's suspended, etc. The possibility to execute a so-called event script. So this is a OScript code that is stored in one of your custom module or a standard module that is available to basically all the workflows, depending on the kind of events you want to associate the script execution to. And so this is a very powerful, by the way, solution that allows you to do a lot of different things and to have it's very powerful way for controlling what happens in your workflow. The problem is that writing an event script is not that easy. It requires you, again, to write a script, something to be deployed on your system, tested, maintained, etc., etc. And the other problem is that whenever you create an event script, it is difficult to isolate it as a per workflow basis, meaning that the event script would be available basically to all your workflows. So it's not, if you define a lot of them, you will have a lot of them available on all your workflows. It's not really what you want, because sometimes you are developing an event script just for a single workflow, and so you want to isolate it as much as possible. And WebReports allows you to do something similar. So allows you to associate the execution of a web report to certain of these events. What Module Suite does is to do a step forward. So Module Suite allows it to associate a ContentScript package to your workflow. So whenever you define your workflow map, you have the possibility to define an additional ContentScript package, and you can associate content scripts all around your system. And then you can utilize this content script in your workflow basically in two ways. So the most simple one is to associate it to the execution of a content script step. So basically you can drop a content script step, and a content script step allows it to define what should happen, which script should be executed, and what should happen on the basis of the script execution outcome. Actually allows it to decide what should happen after the script is executed, and allows it to keep in consideration the script outcome as one of the condition you can utilize to take the decision. So this is basically an advanced gateway step, an advanced routing step, in which you're first of all executing a script, and then on the basis of its outcome or anything else, you can take routing decisions. So here I can again take in consideration the outcome of the script, simply in terms of was successful or result in an error. I can consider the outcome as an integer, and so apply all the computation related with the value, or as a string. So I can use all the operators that are related to a string. And I can mix this condition to others, for example, related with forms, etc., etc. So I can create complex condition, and this condition will allow me to create complex routing. Keep in mind that in a script can be very robust because ContentScript has this notion of exception management. So you can intercept errors directly in your script, and you can react to errors. And the other aspect is that the large and the vast set of APIs allows it to perform very complex computation. So this is probably the most advanced way you can find in workflows to take routing decision. You can take decision, for example, on the basis of information you are obtaining from another system through, I don't know, a REST API call. You can take routing decision based on current time and date. You can take routing decision based, for example, on some of the availability of a resource queried from your directory system through the LDAP protocol. So I can check, for example, if a room is available, and I can take routing decision based on that. So again, that's the most advanced. And the other way you can utilize ContentScript in a workflow, as said, is in place of event scripts. So whenever an event script is, whenever you can utilize an event script, Module Suite allows you to utilize a content script. The nice thing is that the content script that you are allowed to utilize are not just all the content scripts that you have on the system, but only one that you have associated to this specific workflow. So, and this typically helps to define this clear separation of responsibilities that Module Suite really encourages. So, having, for example, the business analyst designing the workflow, discussing the workflow map with the business, and the developer, a developer providing the business logic implementation that the system should take care of. So defining the script that will be executed as, let me say, automatically by the system, or defining what the system should do based on events that are registered in the workflow. So here, for example, we are utilizing a script whenever a workflow is completed to create a PDF summary of what happened, and in the system and we are utilizing another script to each step to determine who's gonna execute this step. So we have an assigned task that we're going to utilize to decide who's going to execute or to be assigned this step. And if we look at the assigned task script, which is super nice, you will see that we are basically leveraging the APIs that Module Suite has for interacting with Excel documents in order to read the information stored into specific cells, so S11 or 15, and utilize this information to assign steps, which means that we can now basically offer our business a way to control their workflows and the assignees of the workflow steps changing an Excel file. So this is the Excel file that is utilized by that step, and this Excel file contains a very simplified representation of the organization chart of our organization. So, and this is S11 and this is O15. So as a business user, just changing the information that is in this cell, I can reconfigure basically my workflow just because in the content script that was associated to that, we were able to do that. And the other script that we were looking at, so the one that is creating the PDF summary, it's super interesting because it's creating a PDF document programmatically. So it's 176 lines of code. It is actually pretty simple and is fetching different information, different kind and sort of information from the workflow. And let me show you an example of the report that is produced. So if we go into contracts here, reports, take any of these reports, so this is the report that is produced, and as you see, it's quite good looking report with logo and other information and tables, etc., and was quite easy to codify it into a script. Another very common requirement for which OScript is utilized is to apply customizations to the classic UI or smart UI, more generally speaking, to the user interface. And again, that typically customization requires you to implement some OScript. The same things can be implemented here with Module Suite. So Module Suite allows you to customize quite a number of things in the classic UI and also in the smart UI. To give an idea, let me open the ContentScript volume. This time we are looking for our training center. So training center is an application you can download from developer.answermodels.com free of charge, and offers you a set of examples and samples application that you can utilize to get started with content server and with ContentScript and Module Suite more generally speaking. So here we have graphical user interface customization example, and I'm downloading, and the training center application is basically setting up this example for me. And here we will see a once the import will be completed, yep, we'll see in a set of example of what Module Suite can do in Smart UI. The first of all and most simple one is customizing the object menu. So you can, for example, reduce the items available in the object menu. You can easily create some menus on the basis, for example, in this case, of the content of the folder itself. So these items here depend on the content of the folder itself. And other things you can do is to customize the edit item menu, so reducing and enhancing what you can add into a specific folder. And the other thing you can do is to customize the multi-button here, so removing stuff, or you can perform more complex customizations. So you can integrate many of these customization into a single one. It's loading, taking forever. In the meantime, so if we look at, for example, this application here, the other thing you can do is to customize the browser columns. So, for example, removing the modified date and the sites column where they're not relevant. Or you can modify the content of the browse view entirely. So I can, for example, change the way the promoted action can be displayed, etc. If you combine everything together, I have to log with another user. So and here's I was saying, if you combine everything together, you can then basically in classic UI being able to create quite complex user interfaces, such as this one, that is mixing a standard element with a completely custom one. And so, for example, you can go into the approval folder where you have the possibility to display to your users in this case, invoices that must be approved, presenting them with custom buttons here to decide what to do with the selected invoices, such as export all the information into an Excel file, massively approve them, massively reject them, download them. You can present the user with so this is the Excel file that was produced, which is definitely not a comma separated value file. It is a complex Excel files with pivot charts, with constraint over value you can associate to folder, etc. I was saying you can create menu, specific menu dedicated to your application. You can remove a standard column and maintain all the columns that are relevant to your application. You can utilize, for example, form that you have created with the tool to filter the content of the view that you are looking at, as in this case. You can modify the browse view in order to for example, immediately present you the preview of the document. So again, in terms of what you can do to the classic UI with Module Suite, there's a lot of things that can be accomplished, and all these things without having to actually deploy on the system anything. So it's really just a matter of writing a script or creating a form in the right place. With Smart UI, things are very, very similar. So with Smart UI, you have the possibility to create complex solution, such as, for example, this one. So this is an interface completely built on a Smart UI, and this interface allows us to implement a very simple use case scenario in which we are loading demo data, so demo documents, and on the basis of information that we find directly inside the document, we can dispatch it to different folders, so accounting, HR, and unclassified, and automatically with this. And this is an interface that was entirely built with Smart Pages. So this brand new tool that allows it to work with elements that you want to put in the Smart UI, working with a very simplified editor. So what you see is what you get. So you have the possibility to define the layout of the page using a set of different widgets, and you can associate to this widget some business logic to be executed, such as, for example, the dispatch or the load, etc. And you have the possibility as a developer to provide advanced business logic behind it. And these Smart Pages can be utilized to create, as in this case, completely standalone interface, or can be utilized to create more, let me say, complex interfaces in which you are mixing, for example, as in this case, standard browse view with custom tile that allows it to load the information for the document. So from here, I basically have the possibility to say, I don't have it. Let's enable it. So I don't have the actual menu. So I will show you also how you can, with Module Suite, enable a new menu for your browse view. So I go again in ContentScript volume, and always working as convention over configuration, have the possibility to define commands here, and we should have select reader. We should have the document details style. Should be this command. Okay. And now we can tell the system that we want this command available for all the documents. So in the overrides, we have to specify where we wanted it, and we want for all the subtypes. And basically, we need a script that returns the list of commands that we want to add. So we will add this one as well. Now, if we reload the original folder, we can see that we should have a new command here, doc details, and clicking on this doc details, you see loads the information about the document on the right. So this is basically a Smart Page that contains the information related with the documents. Can be a Smart Page containing the Brava viewer widget that allows you to display the Brava view, so that the content of the document directly here in this view. And the interesting aspect here is the fact that we can make these two tiles exchange information. And this is it's quite a unique functionality. And there's other tools, other widgets that you might want to utilize for the same purpose. So bringing this concept to the world of maps, for example, you can from here, for example, you can look at different the location of different connected workspaces. So each one of these pins to this map correspond to a connected workspace. And this is again a smart page which has a map tile configured in it. And the pin in this map widget, they have been configured to talk with the tile on the right to load information related to that case. So what we basically have here is a set of reports, and whenever I click on one of them, I can load here the information related to this specific report. And this information that has been associated to the category attached to the document, to the incident in this case, where you have latitude and longitude, etc. And so going back on how new menu are defined in SmartUI, let's see how you can create one from scratch in less than 5 minutes. So I was, for example, working with this receipt, open document detail. So with Module Suite, even when you write scripts, you never really write code by yourself. It's quite unusual, at least as a starting point. So there is this library of predefined snippets that you can utilize to configure it. And so if I want to create a new menu, what I can do is to utilize, for example, SmartUI menu command and fill in here the different option and execution, for example, script, panel, action, whatever, define the confirmation if it is required or not, etc. And what the system does is when I click save, it is produced this skeleton basically for the command that I want to execute. So if you look at the command that we were looking at, if I change this require, for example, to true, I can provide a title, for example, confirmation, and here a message, are you sure? And just because I applied these two changes, now when I try to perform the action on one of these documents, I will ask for confirmation, and when I click on yes, the action will be actually executed. And the nice thing here is that well, what the action is doing is just performing this action, and this action is listened by the other tile, and it is a very powerful solution to do different kind of things. And an action here can be, or the execution of your command can be several different things. Can be execute a script and maybe reload the collection of items that you're working with, or open a panel, or download a document or go somewhere, so be redirected somewhere. So it's very, very powerful solution. Obviously, another big topic whenever it comes to replace development, so replace OScript and replace WebReport, is definitely forms. And this is something Module Suite is very powerful. And so if we look, for example, at this sandbox, so whenever you want to define a form, the typical steps are defining a form template, defining the structure for the documents that you want to, for the fields that you want to collect in the form, and then start exporting the XML, the HTML, and customize the HTML yourself. With Module Suite, you don't do this kind of thing, so you typically work with a very low coding tool named Form Builder. So I start creating a template for a form, and I start creating the view for this template view, and then I can directly go into the view for editing it, the view, and directly from here I have the possibility to define both the widget that I want to utilize to collect the information. So for example, I want to have a user by login, so I want to be able to select a user from my repository, and I can create on the fly, so requester, the field in the form template that I'm going to associate this widget to. So requester, for example, for the date, I want to utilize a date picker for the date, so request, and this can be the date, and I can save it, and I can associate to it to a view template, which is basically nothing but the skin of the view. And even before to actually create a form, I can already look at how the form is rendered would be. So I haven't created yet a form object, but I can already see how the view will be rendered. And if, for example, I'm not satisfied, I can add some, I don't know, a text to help my users. I can add, maybe I want to add the possibility for them to manage the content of a specific portion of my repository directly from the form, and I can do that. Inject, specifying breadcrumb. I can reload, toggle preview. Oh, it doesn't look good. In fact, there's smart UI flag that I need to configure if this widget must be displayed in the Smart UI. Much better. And now I can imagine to utilize this. And there is no title here. How can I fix it? I can select view template, define a view title, a simple title, let's say a demo title, and save it, and toggle preview. As you've seen, I've created a non-super trivial form with just a few clicks, and without having to write a single line of HTML, a single line of scripting code, a single line of JavaScript code. So everything was just drag and drop things. And as far as the scripting solution is concerned, even for the scripting solution, you might want to create a scripting solution, the scripts, either writing code yourself if you are a developer, so the system will help you quite significantly in finding your way. As you see, there's validation, there's auto-completion, so I can create, for example, a new document or a new category, compound document, whatever. I said there are more than 5,000 APIs here, so you can do a lot of different things. So you see here there's a bunch of services that you can utilize to create stuff. And or you can decide to create your scripts this way, which is say way easier. So you can write your scripts in the form of blocks. Again, it's really up to you. Other aspects where OScript development is actually required is definitely when it comes to define new REST APIs. It's a very common requirement if you need to expose some of the information you have on your system to other systems, or you want to create an API endpoint to be utilized by your line of business application. And writing the extension for a REST API can be quite time consuming. With Module Suite is super simple. Again, is literally creating a new ContentScript object inside of this folder, so CS services. Anything that is here is automatically published as a valid REST API. So for example, for our integration with Teams, we created a Teams folder here, and this team folders allows us to be queried and CS API by name, and requires a parameter to be passed directly in the URL and produces the configuration page, for our Teams application. So it's super easy. And again, as said, this REST API can be consumed directly from within Content Server API interface, or can be consumed from outside of it. So if with V1, basically this required the actual REST API authentication token to be put into the header of the request. Other places in which OScript development or web report development, well, actually only OScript development can be utilized is whenever you have to define data sources for your custom column, which are pretty useful working with SmartUI particularly. So if you need to create a data source, if you want to create a new custom column, the first thing you need to do is to go in the facet volume. You can create, for example, a new column object, and whenever you create a new column object, you can select a data source. So data sources by default are typically based on category attributes and some other information that specific module can make available to you. If you need to create more complex data sources, so for example, you need to combine the values of multiple categories attributes, or you need to fetch this information from other systems, there's no other way of doing it than defining a custom data source. A custom data source is a quite piece of OScript to be written, unless obviously you have Module Suite. So in this case, what you can do is just to go into the ContentScript volume. There is a CS data sources here, and you can create a script here, maybe demo, for example. And now if you go back to your facet volume and you try to create again a column, you will see that among the data sources at the end you have this new ContentScript demo. So you can create a data source for your custom column again in a matter of minutes nothing to be deployed on your system, and nothing to, not even a restart required. And there is many other use cases for OScript development. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time, but as you can imagine, so the takeaway here is Module Suite can be really a replacement both for OScript development and WebReports. And it's a fresh approach based on increasing the number of API that are available, simplifying the way business logic is codified, and trying to provide low coding tools to developers and administrators so that they can implement themselves most of the requirements they are facing. And I really suggested to have a look at the other sessions because many of the functionality that I briefly discussed will be demonstrated as part of the demonstration in the other session. Thank you so very much.